is the coolest studio of a lot of studios I've been in.
Oh, hold on a second. We got to move this over here. You know how to work
a lot of studios I've been in.
Thank you. Well, you have it. Come on. Your thing looks like Kal-El's dad's apartment. You have all the glass, right, and all that's in your studio. The big glass table.
You got to come down and see us, man.
I know. I do have to come down and see you. The last few times I was fleeing the city being chased by Antifa.
You use my armored vehicle anytime you want.
I know, but the inside of that
rad.
thing is like a Mercedes, by the way.
I brought you a little something here.
What did you bring?
Oh.
Well, because we have to fact check everything. So basically, all the stuff I want to talk about is all government documents and announcements.
Okay.
So here's your folder.
All right, this is my folder. I appreciate it.
And then I've got my folders.
Hey, what's the best place for people to go? Because you have so many websites and so many. What's the best website for people to go see you?
Well, banned.video is great, but Twitter, Facebook, YouTube have banned sharing that URL. So the mirror of it is freeworldnews.tv.
Free World News.
Freeworldnews.tv or Infowars.com is the big evil dreaded site people can find
Yes,
us on.
Infowars. I was going to say Infowars.com, but I didn't know if that was banned.
Well, a lot of people, come and say, man, I love your show, or I saw you here, saw there. Too bad you're off the air. No, we're in a way bigger than ever, just on our own platform, kind of like you're doing. And so, the fans and supporters of Liberty really have flocked to us. And because so much what we talked about and predicted has come true, we've kind of been resurrected like the mythical phoenix, thanks to a lot of people like you supporting us.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate it. And I was always really, I was pretty pissed when after you got banned on YouTube, there were a lot of people who didn't have you on. I think we had you on the next day, certainly within 48 hours. I think it was the next day.
Well, that's right. I mean, let's be honest. I was always trying to get on because I'm a big fan of your shows.
No, you'd already been on.
No, I mean, but I was always trying to get on. You're like, nah. But as soon as I got banned, you stood up and had me on. Everybody else ran away scared.
Yeah.
So that is you don't know who the good guys are until the chips are down.
Well, no.
And you're somebody that actually supports free speech. You're a real American.
Well, thank you very much.
By the way,
But that seems so accusatory.
Tears to my eyes. To see how far he's come.
I know.
I mean, he's totally awake now.
Yeah, he is. And, we did have you. Hold on a second. We had you on like 5 times before that. We even taped like 3 sketches with you doing
I know,
Young
you were very
Turks.
nice.
But you wanted to be on like every week.
For a year before.
Steven, I got this story here you're not going to believe about saltwater pools. I'm like, all right, look, Alex, not everything is a bombshell.
But as soon as I got banned, you were really supportive, and I appreciate it.
Well, I really appreciate you being on. Okay, I'm going to show a clip here because I want everyone out there. Look, we're going to talk about the Great Reset.
You know what's funny? I didn't know we were talking about Great Reset till last night. I got sent the list of things, which is great. I actually brought you a bunch of Great Reset stuff.
Okay, perfect.
So we are simpatico.
Well, let's make sure that we're because people say
we're like two women in prison about to have a baby together.
Yes, exactly. Immaculate conception. And he shall be assigned unto thee.
Together.
So the Great Reset, New World Order, not just conspiracies. Look, is everything going on coincidences? Don't take our word for it. This is the terminology used by people in power.
The affirmative task we have now is to actually create a new world order.
We will be looking at what contact tracing looks like in the new world order. Yes, it will be pubs and clubs and other things if we have a positive case there.
This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset. This is our chance to accelerate our pre-pandemic efforts to reimagine economic systems that actually address global challenges like extreme poverty, inequality, and climate change.
So they're saying things like New World Order, this reset, why are they saying the quiet part out loud? What's changed right now?
Well, did you notice the new spending bill is called Build Back Better?
Yes.
And they all wear that rainbow swastika. It's a sun sign of the UN and Klaus Schwab. Bill Gates wears it. Klaus Schwab wears it. And Klaus Schwab was the head of the Bilderberg Group back when that was secret, and he was also the head of the UN Global Sustainability Board under UNESCO. And so he's written 4 books where he explains. He wrote a book a few years ago. He also wrote The Great Reset last year, saying we're going to use the fear of a virus to bring in a global system and a global medical vaccine passport that will actually really be a carbon tax passport that tracks everything you do. And now MasterCard's come out, United's come out, and Kerry said last week, he goes, I don't care if governments don't pass carbon taxes. The corporations are implementing it now. So it's a global corporate tax on people to the corporations. And when you hear Build Back Better, that means post-industrial world, Agenda 2030, this is all official, abolish all the small businesses and then vertically integrate the economy. So it's a corporate fascist takeover using Marxist-Leninist ideology and a Cloward and Piven strategy to collapse civilization.
And that doesn't require any kind of a conspiracy. To be clear, we're not saying that Bill Gates is putting a tracking chip in your vaccine. We're not saying that's not a real. Of course, it's a real virus.
We're not saying he's not.
No, we're saying they're
creating an international.
It's a real virus, and they're taking advantage of something to use that to instill fear and control them.
Exactly.
And the results have decimated small businesses across this country.
It's what you were saying earlier when you were defending Joe Rogan. That's what he was saying. He's not saying that they've killed millions of people in death camps yet.
No.
What he said is this is the lead meetup, you can't buy or sell unless you have a special license. You mark the people you want to target. And now, as of today, the CDC is calling people with an illegal national database. It's in the news, calling them at their house to say, you haven't been injected. Why is that? And so whatever happened to HIPAA, whatever happened to the Nuremberg Code, whatever happened to medical privacy, and if you look at Australia, the UK, New Zealand, Canada, and the EU, they're now announcing a thing called shielding. And that's where you, quote, lock down cities and areas completely, quote, so the healthy don't get it. And they're now proposing that and building and expanding these emergency
shielding.
Centers. Yeah,
Okay, I just thought that was something that they put at the Golden
Here's
Corral.
the first document, operational considerations, February 11th, 2020. And then it goes in to talk about general population, how to lock down cities, how to put people in camps.
Well, look, that's one thing. Of course, they have locked down countries.
It says camp sector.
Well, there are camps in Australia right
movement
now.
interactions.
Right. There are camps in Australia. One's only going to be completed in 2024. That's a pretty long timeline. What were you about to say there, Joe?
Well, Alex, I wanted to bring up. So I know that in 1990,
camp sector level.
Yeah.
So in 1994, there was a national immunization survey where the CDC actually calls. We check the number. It's coming from the CDC, this phone call that they're asking about that. So there's a couple of things that could be happening here. This could be that routine call that they've been doing this for literally over 2 decades, right?
Yeah.
Calling and talking to people, doing surveys to see how many people are immunized for measles, mumps, rubella, but they also do it for other breakouts that happen. So the question is, are they calling and asking questions about COVID that they're then taking that information, using a totally like normal thing that they've done, and then using that against people, or are they just gathering information? I think that's the point we don't quite know yet.
Well, let me answer the question. Yeah, they're building on older programs, but we also had 2 Supreme Court rulings. One of them, Jacobson, 100 years ago, that you could forcibly inject people, and that same court also said you could sterilize poor whites and blacks. And so the precedents they're using of forced inoculation are literally eugenics era, and in the Nuremberg trial, the Nazis actually used what the U.S. and England did with forced sterilizations and forced inoculations.
And let me just be really clear, because YouTube just made this part. We are not saying that the COVID vaccine is forced sterilization. What we are talking about is the same with Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger, who supported eugenics and forced sterilization. We're talking about how that is something that has happened in the past, not saying that's the current vaccine. But no, that is that's important to note. It is also something I'll bring up here, too, for Gerald. Do you notice a problem with what you just said? They've been doing it for decades, right?
Yeah.
But they've been calling, asking about
being immunized.
Can someone, let's have someone from the research department bring up the definition of the vaccine. It does not refer to immunization. It refers to protection against COVID.
Because it's a gene therapy. So let's expand on that. What they're doing is building on top of all of this. So if you remember, what did Biden say 6 months ago? He said, in red areas and in areas that aren't highly vaccinated, we're going to send groups out to homes to canvass and to push for them to be and to try to take them there. Right. So people hear this now announced because they're expanding and people have been called and then they're pushing it on them. And they go, that couldn't be, that's not American. But remember, Biden announced it and they have newscasts showing people, going to people's doors and saying, come on, we'll take you to get the shot right now. You really need it.
Right.
Paid for by the federal government.
Mr. Pfizer's neighborhood,
Through NGOs. So the answer is that is going on. So see, what I do is I don't just use one report. I'll have dozens of others, they're already going on under other names. And what I'm saying is the UN admits, Dr. Ryan, the head of Global Rapid Response, a year and a half ago, he said, we're going to have the shield in place proposal. It's going to be implemented by governments around the world. And we're going to go in and basically in the future under new lockdowns, actually go in and take people out of the homes who aren't even sick to take them to facilities, quote, for their protection. So they want that power to develop the camps, and at first it'll look reasonable. You'll go to the camp, you'll get out of the camp. It describes how you'll be taken to the camps in here, in this document I gave you, from cdc.gov for 6 months.
That's quite...
So remember Hillary said we need fun camps for men? Hey, try this. I got a leaked document.
Fun camps for men?
Wasn't that Epstein Island?
Search this.
Yes.
Search this with Infowars.com at the end. It'll still take you to the Army's website, but that's how you find it. Search Obama re-education camps. And remember, 2010, he secretly proposed re-education camps for Americans during a collapse. The Army got upset, leaked the document to me, and then 2 years later, they declassified it. So understand, this has been going on a while. They've been trying to secretly prepare.
Let me read this. Just so people can see this. I don't know if you can get a close-up here, Quarterback Garrett.
Give me a second.
Because we don't have these sources available, but this is, if you can look in that little URL, we'll make sure that we have it available on loudwithcrowder.com.
Yeah.
This is a CDC website. I just opened it up.
Copy of it.
Oh, okay. Well, people know.
I even highlighted it for, but hold that up.
You can hold it up here. So this is from the CDC website. I have it right here. And this is something that I just read in here. It does say, for this reason, the shielding approach suggests physically separating high-risk individuals from the general population to prioritize the use of the limited available resources and avoid implementing long-term containment measures among the general population.
That's a good thing.
That is absolutely terrifying. Again, we'll bring this up because this is what? cdc.gov/coronavirus 2019-NCOV. Okay.
2019.
I want to move on here.
Oh, by the way, we have documents from the IMF from 2018 calling it COVID-19 preparations.
Wow.
They've been, that's the next document. Operation Lockstep. Let's move on. Let's move on to Operation Lockstep, Stephen. This one right here from the Rockefeller Foundation, 2011, mask lockdowns, introducing an authoritarian world government takeover. Actually uses those words.
Wow. And that's from what year? 2018?
2011.
Oh, 11.
2011.
They started preparing in 2018.
This is from the Rockefeller?
Yeah, and they run the U.S.
It says lockstep, a world of tighter top-down government control and more authoritarian leadership with limited innovation and growing citizen pushback.
That's just something for you to read later.
No, look, this is going to be good bathroom reading because I'll need something afterward to wipe. I don't mean as an insult to you, but I mean as an insult to Rockefeller.
Yeah. But remember, who runs the U.S. national strategy through Johns Hopkins? It's the Rockefeller Foundation. If you look it up, type in Rockefeller Foundation leads U.S. strategy in counting COVID.
Well, hold on. I want to go to something else here, too, because this is something important. I think we have clip H. This is, which clip is this?
Vaccine mandate.
Yeah. This is about
Build Back Better and the Great Reset is the corporate UN world government takeover in the Rockefeller Foundation's own words.
Right.
If you go to Klaus Schwab, who's the head of this whole thing, the head of the Davos Group, if you go to his own Wikipedia and then link through, they don't just trust Wikipedia, he says, we are going to capture all the governments of the world, voters will no longer matter, and only stakeholders from corporations in the UN will have authority. Then we can carry out depopulation. It's on the Wikipedia for Klaus Schwab. It's capturing nation states.
And I think this is all important to note. This is separate from the argument. We've talked with people, if you want to get the vaccine, get the vaccine. If you don't, I think you should have the right to not get the vaccine.
We're talking about the power grab.
We're talking about the freedom for people to make. In other words, all of this is a non-issue. Let's bring it to
And they don't want
Donald
to put
Trump.
a chip in you. They want the World ID medical passport to be in your phone or a card, and that's what tracks you.
Right,
and that's what controls
your
you.
phone already tracks everybody. You don't need a chip.
Well,
but to be clear, Donald Trump did, Operation Warp Speed, made sure that we had ability. It's the Trump vaccine. However,
I think Trump fell into their trap. I think it's the worst.
Well,
thing
no, but
Trump
hold on.
did.
The thing is, Donald Trump wasn't trying to force anyone. There's a big difference between making it available
Said you shouldn't be
and mandating, and that is the difference. It's not a problem with people having access or choosing to take the vaccine. It's a problem with mandating it, as we just saw on CNN right now, saying we need to consider mandating pregnant women, which is a concern for any medication. Just to be clear,
yes. Experimental.
You were about to say something.
My wife is in first trimester right now. We were
drinking every day,
every single night. No, but Al, you brought up a good point. You said go and read these documents and check for yourself, because Reuters actually tried to come out and kind of quote unquote fact checked the shielding, saying it was actually just for like refugee camps, right? So I don't know if it was in response to this getting out on the
but
media.
Only they don't put refugees in refugee camps.
That's what I'm saying. So here's the thing, like, just be aware of some of the other articles that may come out and say, oh, no, this is totally fine. Just like this, 1994. We've been doing these calls since 1994. Nothing to see here, guys. Right?
Yes.
So just understand, we're giving you the context so that you can look at all of it. And
you also need to understand your rights. Look, all of this becomes a moot point if you are talking about you having the freedom to make your own choices. This is about a systematic removal of freedoms, and this is what comes down with the vaccine mandates. We have a clip. I want to roll this clip and then get Alex's thoughts.
But let me be clear. Boosters are important, but the most important thing we need to do is get more people vaccinated. The vast majority of Americans are doing the right thing. Over 77% of adults have gotten at least one shot. About 23% haven't gotten any shots. And that distinct minority is causing an awful lot of us, an awful lot of damage for the rest of the country. This is a pandemic of the unvaccinated.
Vilifying.
That's why I'm moving forward with vaccination requirements wherever I can.
Is it a pandemic
on
of the
Wednesday,
unvaccinated
I'll
in
be
Australia when
traveling to
78% of hospital
talk
patients are
about why it's
vaccinated
so
as opposed to
important
50% of the
that
population?
more
Is it a
businesses
pandemic of the unvaccinated in Israel?
instituting their own vaccine
We're
requirements.
90%.
We know that to beat this pandemic and to save lives, to keep our children safe, our schools open, our economy going, we need to get folks vaccinated. So please do the right thing.
Now, Alex, let me just reiterate something there. Did you hear what he just said? In order to keep our businesses open, our schools safe, he just said basically, in order for you to be able to live, any aspect of your life untouched, we need to make sure that everyone gets vaccinated. How does that happen? Well, it started with a mandate of companies of 100 people or more.
Yeah.
Affects 80 million Americans. He's saying that's required simply to do business or send your kids to school.
And by the way, his new Build Back Better bill, spending bill, this is mainstream news today, has a $700,000 fine.
Yeah.
Not the previous fine. What was it, $15,000?
I think it was just discovered, was it yesterday, that people were going through it going, this is it would cripple industry.
700,000. And listen, it's not just the 2 shots. Then it's Israel's up to their second booster now. Australia's announcing basically every few months you're going to get the shots. And their health minister said, this is Build Back Better. You never go back to normal. So he's there holding you hostage. Biden's saying, to keep things open, to keep things going, you've got to do what we say. And it's a pandemic of the unvaccinated. And as you said, Israel's 90% injected in almost all their cases. Again, remember Fauci lied on many things about gain of function, you name it. But he also
repeat
lied.
yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Remember 3 months ago? He said 99% of people dying have not had the vaccine. Well, he used statistics from 2020 when no one was vaccinated.
Right.
So it's all pure deception. And the truth is the PCR test, 94% are false positive. You mentioned that. This is all garbage. I know the virus is real. It was cooked up in a lab. I know it's got terrible gain of function. I know that once it mutated to Delta variant, I got it. It was terrible. Almost killed my dad. I've been saying for 5 months, this is much worse than last year. But then most people I know that have gotten deathly ill, other than my dad, have been injected. And that's what the real numbers show. And they don't want us discussing that. There's another big study out today.
Well, at the very least, what I would say is you can't make any claim as far as correlation, but you can say that, okay, it's not what people expected with the vaccine and immunization.
No.
For example, Alex, you're not anti-vaccine, to be clear. Measles, things like that, like you've had those shots, rubella or someone when you're a kid. I've had those shots. We don't need to get a booster on those every time. You know what? I never have to go into a store and say, hey, hold on, what's your policy?
That's because they're actual vaccines.
Right, because they're actual vaccines, and they work. No one goes onto an airline and says, Delta, are you checking for the rubella cards?
No.
Why? Because they work. Because
and that's
people
why the
trust
corporations, well, here's the thing. Whenever we say something, we've got to pull up every fact, every study when they're all right here. And then meanwhile, Biden has said over and over again that, don't take the vaccine. You can't just trust it if Trump does it. A day after he gets in, it's the best thing ever. You got to take it right now. And then he goes, so did Kamala Harris.
She said full stop. She wouldn't take it.
Yeah. And then I'm sitting here saying, hey, I've got the Israeli study of over 6 million people that they studied, the biggest study in world history, and they're saying the Pfizer shot has 39% efficacy after 3 months. That's just them. And when Senator Paul quoted that on the floor of the Senate, an Israeli study, they said, sorry, the UN doesn't say that's official information.
And can I jump in?
We're not supposed to even
No,
talk about
let me jump
how
in.
they censored
Because
Senator
I
Paul.
want to give you their counter argument and then a counter argument.
Yeah.
They would say, well, actually, with Israel, it's the reason that a huge percentage of people in hospitals are vaccinated is because a huge percent of the population are vaccinated.
Right.
Okay, but then you have
Australia?
What about Australia?
Exactly.
We have 78% of the population vaccinated and 50% of the population vaccinated, 78% of the hospital.
It's worse
There's a
than that.
study
It's
from
worse than
Mayo,
that.
and
It's
I
worse
just-
than that.
And I just spent time at Mayo. Okay, and Mayo, I don't know if they are top tier.
Yes,
they are
they are.
really, really very good.
Yeah.
And I do believe that most of the data that comes out of Mayo is objective and held to the highest standard. They did a study with 25,000 people on both sides, vaccinated and not vaccinated. We have this source available at louderwithcrowder.com. This was not done to push any agenda. When I was there, I had to be tested or vaccinated to have my surgery. Just to be clear, with Mayo Clinic, I believe it was 50,000 people total.
I think so, yeah.
25,000 in 2 groups, separated for age, race, gender, immunocompromise, fitness level, all of that. And they did find that one of the vaccines, I don't know if it was the Moderna or Pfizer, against the Delta variant, was 42% effective. The other one was 60%.
It was Moderna.
Was it Moderna? That's been the one that they've
By
had
the way,
a problem with.
Moderna's more effective than the Pfizer because it's 3 times stronger.
Right. Well, it depends on which study you use. The point is, none of the data is consistent.
Yeah, I'm just reading
and it's
this
really
out of
hard to
Reuters.
trust
But
any of the data.
Well, here's what I'm saying. I believe in technology. I'm an early adopter of it. I mean, I don't own any stock in Regeneron. Every time I mention it, people say, you must own it. They've been around since 88. They got a bunch of approved stuff. They don't have liability protection like the vaccine makers. And they clone a mouse white blood cell, put it in a vat with COVID, the latest version, and then they put that in your body. It's there for 2 weeks. You crap it out and no side effects. And I've got a bunch of friends and others that had COVID, thought they were dying, took Regeneron, and it was like in 5-6 hours they were better.
My mom and dad did the monoclonal antibodies. So did my wife.
Yeah.
Talk to your dad today.
And you know
6 hours later, better.
I can say this now. This is something I would have been in trouble for before. I tested negative for COVID, okay? Tested negative 5 times over 9 days, I believe, right? Because I was very concerned coming into this office. I was making out with my wife who had COVID. So obviously, when I called Mayo, I said, what's going on? They said, you must have had it, but the antibody tests aren't necessarily reliable. So the point is, I went in and I had a negative. And they said at the clinic, they said, well, treat it like a positive, don't work for 10 days, and don't see your kids for 10 days. I said, so are we treating it like a positive? They said, yes, they just changed the laws where you couldn't get the antibodies unless you had tested positive. It used to be you could get it if you lived with someone with COVID.
That's where I was going next.
But I was going to say, I went in. So I did get it, okay? I did get the antibodies because at that point they said treat it like a positive. I hadn't done my other tests after that. But I'm treating it like a positive. If you're going to say I can't see my kids, I'm going to get the antibodies.
Right.
When I was in there, everyone else in there was vaccinated. So people said, where did you get that? We were in a room with 4 or 5 or 6 people. Everyone in there was vaccinated. We all got the antibody treatment. I asked them, they told me, I have the sheet printed out. The sheet said don't get a vaccine for either 60 or 90 days because it will neutralize the antibodies. And I said, hold on a second, this is interesting to me. If we have the antibodies, and the vaccine will neutralize the antibodies. I said, how long do the antibodies last? For example, would it be, and I asked a nurse there and a doctor, would it be of value, let's say, in a surge to flatten the curve? And they said, that's a good question. You need to ask your doctor. I said, but my doctor sent me to you. How long do the antibodies last?
Exactly.
No one could answer it.
And that's what's incredible here is it's all nebulous, it all changes. But that's where I was going with that.
Because you said 2 weeks. Is that about 2 weeks, the antibodies from the Regeneron?
Well, they flood out of you then,
About 2 weeks.
Okay. That's what its doctor told me. But the point is, a doctor that actually runs a Regeneron clinic.
Yeah.
He actually runs a hospital too, but he's my treating doctor.
That would be valuable in a curve. When you're talking about flattening, if it lasted for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
In other words, but they told me there are no
you can get
studies
him on if
done.
you want him. He's Dr. Bartlett. He's here in Texas. But here's the long story short. What I was getting at is I'm all about science. And if something doesn't have liability protection, and I know that it's been looked at and it's approved, really approved, and then there's really no side effects, well, then I say, I want that. And I've seen it work anecdotally. I've not just seen the statistics. Okay, so what does Biden do as soon as the southern states all start getting it and using it? As Trump ordered 500 million doses. You only need 1 dose a person. That's 150 million extra doses. There's no shortage. I was told this a month ago. We broke it. Then it came out 2 weeks ago confirmed. Biden is rationing and blocking these from Texas, Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, and other areas in the South because they're Republican. And get this, so the Governor DeSantis and Governor here in Texas, Abbott had to order millions of doses for the public because even the paying public couldn't get it because Biden was blocking that. So you can argue all day about other things like ivermectin or whatever. Let's just move that aside. Regeneron is approved for this, has incredible outcomes, and they're trying to keep it from us.
Well, actually,
what the hell is this?
You know what it is? It's emergency authorized. Regeneron. And you know what? I said that. They said, it's emergency authorization. One of the nurses said, oh, so at this point, I said, like the vaccine? She just looked at me and said, I guess. No, you don't guess. Don't guess. Correct. Make your medical inference. All right, we got to go to I want to continue talking about this.
There's one further. If you go to your medical doctor, they will not prescribe you the so-called Pfizer, Moderna, or J&J shot. They say go to an approved clinic like Walmart or Walgreens or these clinics because they have a special shield program under the government. So I can go to Walgreens or CVS and get any other vaccine I want because they're vaccines and they have inserts that tell you all the studies. When you go to get an insert on this, 6 months ago, there was nothing on it. Now there is something on the white sheet insert, and guess what it is? Well, if you go back to October of last year, the CDC, this is on their website for YouTube, it says possible bad reaction side effects from mRNA vaccines, and it lists what they've now had to put on the insert. No studies, no background, none of that. It just says may cause myocarditis, may cause heart swelling.
Right.
So now,
which they had an emergency meeting about, the CDC, just to be clear. This is not a conspiracy. They hosted an emergency meeting.
And how did they know, exactly, how did they know in October before they ever said in December, no connection to heart issues, when they already had CDC document saying this is listed as what we believe is going to happen?
Right.
I mean, this is all real, folks.
No, it's
That's
absolutely
why they
true.
don't want us on here talking about.
Do you know where I actually read and I said this is the shortest list of side effects I've ever read in my life? I said this is less than Zyrtec. Was the antibody treatment. I looked at it, I said, it says slight itchiness or swelling at the site of the bump. I said, there's almost nothing else in here.
And might have a smile.
Might have, it'll take 2 hours to wipe the smile from your face. It's Infowars.com is the best place.
Yes, and freeworldnews.tv.
Freeworldnews.tv. We're going to continue here on Mug Club where we can let it rip, and we're going to be taking your chats, your questions. Can you take some questions from the
By the way, I was happy to not even get into the shots. I want to get into Bilderberg Group, like you said, in the Great Reset and the New World Order and what's running this, what's using this as the pretext to set up its World ID.
Okay, well, we'll talk more about that. YouTube, we know that you're not a fan of You're not really a fan of freedom in general, so
Well, I was patient zero. That actually came out in a Wall Street Journal article. They said we can ban Alex Jones, then ban WikiLeaks. We'll be able to basically, over time, take the internet over and make it like Netflix. And all these stars and all these people, talking about you and Rogan, will be able to come in and take them over and make them work for us. So this isn't so first, let's get Alex. Once the precedent's set, all the dominoes fall. But luckily, you built your own thing, and so you and people like Joe are two of the only unicorns out there that are allowed to survive.
Well, I'm not going to be
both words.
I'm not going to be working for Wojcicki or Zuckerberg anytime soon because YouTube right now, piss off.
We are not through this.